So, I am feeling pretty tired today. I feel like I start every single video of my life with I'm feeling really tired. But I do all the time. Today I'm going to be filming an anxiety Q&A. I asked you on Instagram for questions, anxiety questions, quite a while ago to be fair. And I'm only just getting around to filming this now. I thought I could do this video instead of one of the vlogs. I'm trying to upload every single day in November and I don't really know why. I feel like that was quite an ambitious goal, but here we are, trying to make it happen. This is also the first time I've done a Q&A whilst owning a kitten, so there might be some little kitten noises in the background. Like always with my Q&As, I like to do something else at the same time because I feel like otherwise it'll be a little bit boring. If you would like to see part 2 anxiety Q&A, then please leave your questions below. It doesn't have to be on anxiety, it can be on any subject you would like me to talk about. I would love to answer some more questions. I find these videos very fun to make, so just let me know any questions you would like to know or any advice on different anxiety topics. So let's get into some questions. The first question, I'm not going to say people's names just in case, because sometimes I ask questions on Instagram and I don't want the person to say my name if it's something I'm embarrassed about or something like that. But the first question is, how do you cope with anxiety when starting something new, e.g. a job? I'm not very good with new things, like most people with anxiety I'm sure. I'm just not, when something's new, a situation's new, I really struggle. Especially when, you know, I'm going to an event or like, you know, something like a wedding or somebody's birthday. Obviously we're not really doing that right now, but going to a space that I've never been in before, I find that really difficult. So one of my biggest tips for that is to actually physically go to the place as a kind of trial run. So say you are starting a new job, making sure you know about the place. So say you're starting a new job in a cafe or in an office, just getting familiar with the area, getting familiar with the bus stops, getting familiar with the places you can get a taxi from. You can either do this by physically going to the place, which I would recommend if you have a friend or a family member who can maybe drive you there, to have a look around the place, to know exactly what it looks like. Even if you're able to go inside, if it's a cafe or something, figuring out where the toilets are, figuring out, you know, where you're going to be. I really find that so helpful. I do this quite a lot for things like if I'm going to somebody's wedding or something like that. I really want to be able to go to my friends and family's weddings if I'm invited to them. And when my cousin got married recently, me and my family, we went up to the place she was going to get married. It was quite far for me to go, but we went up before she was getting married so I could kind of know on the day what it was going to look like, where we were going to be sat, you know, all those kind of things. And obviously there's always going to be unexpected things that happen, but I think if you have a bit of preparation it does help with anxiety. Also I think something that helps is just, you know, on the actual day of starting your new job or starting, you know, going to this wedding or whatever it might be, I find it really helpful to have a kind of survival kit with you. So, you know, having a bag full of medication of things like paracetamol if you get a sore tummy, anxiety medication if you feel really anxious, money for a taxi if you need to suddenly leave. Sometimes having like a physical comfort blanket that you take from home, whether it's like a scarf with like a nice smell on it that reminds you of your house or that kind of thing, making sure your phone's fully charged, and also just remembering times where something felt new before and after a while it's not new anymore. Every single person, honestly, on this earth, whether they have anxiety disorders or not, feel a little bit nervous or apprehensive before they do something new, especially when it comes to things like new jobs, because not only do you have your regular anxiety, you also want to do well, or you want people to, you know, get to know you for you, not the anxious you. And so I think there's a lot, so not trying to get rid of anxiety, because anxiety will probably be there in that situation, but just learning to kind of talk to your anxiety is really helpful and just say, okay, this is a new situation for us. How do we do this together? What kind of things could help us do this? Making sure that my phone's on charge and that my friend knows it's my first day or my mum knows it's my first day so I can text them or call them. Having an exit strategy if you feel that would make you more comfortable. I find all these things help a lot. The next question is anxiety and driving ? I do not drive. I've never had a driving lesson really, except with my dad in a random abandoned car park, where he said I did quite well, I think, but I don't think that really counts. I, being honest, have put off doing a lot of things in life because of my anxiety. And maybe in 2021 that could be my goal, is to try and not put things off as much. Because I would love to be able to answer this question in all honesty and say, yeah, I got driving lessons, it's fine, and actually everything's fine. But some things you just aren't ready for. And I think that's okay, and I think there's certain things in life where if you feel anxious about it, you should do it anyway. Things that make you feel a bit anxious, but not completely like waved over with anxiety. And I think if something is causing you horrendous amounts of anxiety, where you feel physically very ill, etc, etc, I just don't feel like it's worth doing it. I think if you're somebody that keeps thinking about driving and you really are desperate to drive but you've got anxiety alongside it, then I think it's worth trying. But I think if you're somebody that is staying awake at night and really not wanting to go to your lessons and, you know, thinking about it all the time, etc, then it's probably not worth it. Then it's probably not the right time for you. But you know, I think these things do make themselves known when you're ready for it. I really do hope to drive at some point, maybe next year or something like that. And then I would love to be able to film a video and to help some of you get through your driving. But that's not happening just now, and I don't feel like I'm ready for that, and if you're not ready for that, that's okay. The next question is how to describe your condition, doctors or family members, without triggering or being too personal. There's many different ways to talk about anxiety, and I think the fact that you want to be able to talk to your doctors or family members about your anxiety is a great start. I think in order to start, you know, really getting to know your anxiety and starting to maybe even get better from it, I think you probably have to go quite personal with somebody that you really, really trust, like a therapist or a really close friend. But I think there's also times where you don't need to go too personal, like with doctors or with certain family members. You can start off not being personal, and then if you feel safe enough, gradually start to talk more. Sorry, Martha's being very loud in the background. She's found a little cap from something and she's having an absolute party. Before I answer this question, I think I'm just going to say, like, why is it that you don't want to go too personal? Is it fear of embarrassment? Is it shame? What is it that you feel that you don't want to be too personal? Because yeah, I think, you know, sometimes you might know, okay, there's certain things in this topic that I don't want to talk to everybody about, like, you know, feeling neglected from my parents when I was a child, or whatever it is that you feel. Yeah, you don't always want to go really deep into it, but I think it is important that you do with somebody, is basically what I'm saying. And never ever feel ashamed or embarrassed about your mental health. That is something of the past, you know, like, I think it's something like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 people in the world have a mental health illness. So you're in good company, you've got lots of people around you that probably understand a lot more than you think. But to answer your question, how do you describe your condition without being too triggering or personal? I often think talking about the physical symptoms is a good place to start. The physical symptoms of anxiety and depression and lots of mental health illnesses are often the most debilitating, and I think talking about those specific symptoms with a doctor or a family member, of like, oh, I feel physically sick, I feel sweaty, I feel hot, I feel shaky, describing the mental thoughts that you have, like I know it's illogical, but I feel like when I go out in public I have these thoughts that this is going to happen or this is going to happen. Another way that could be helpful is if you send them videos of people that talk about it, maybe myself, or anybody that has talked about anxiety in a way that you relate to. You could send that video to, say it's agoraphobia you suffer with. If you've seen one of my videos talk about agoraphobia, or another YouTuber or whoever's videos that talk about agoraphobia, and you relate to it, and you could send that to them, or you could send it to a doctor, or you could show it to a doctor and say, this is exactly how I feel. I don't really know how to articulate it myself, but this person has explained exactly how I feel. How can you help me? Yeah, that's what I would do. I hope that's helpful. The next question is how to cope with the first anxiety wave after waking up. Oh, this is so difficult. I think anxiety when you first wake up is really frustrating, because you're like, I've just woken up, what could I possibly be anxious about already? Martha! You kind of maybe have spiralling thoughts of, well, if I feel like this already today, I'm going to have the whole day being like this. A lot of people, that's when their worst anxiety happens, is when they first wake up in the morning. I think for me, the biggest thing that helps me with this, and just generally with anxiety, is I know I've said it a million times before, but positive self-talk. If you're talking to yourself like, oh God, this is happening. Why is this always happening to me? Why can everybody else function normally? I'm going to have a really awful day today because I've had this already. I can't get these under control. I can't get my feelings under control. I'm always going to be this way. If you're saying these things to yourself, that's probably the likelihood of what you're going to experience every day. And it doesn't happen overnight. I'm not saying that if you're just kind to yourself all the time, you will magically have your anxiety disappear. That's not what I'm saying. If you're waking up and experiencing anxiety, I think for me, the best thing to do is to comfort yourself and to say, oh God, what a shame for me. Like, this is really hard. This is a really hard emotion. What is it that I'm feeling? Is there anything I'm feeling positive about today? What am I looking forward to today? Talking to that little part of you that's anxious and saying, I'm going to be there for you today, and no matter what happens. Hi. No matter what happens, I'm going to be there for myself and I'm going to stay calm. Just showing yourself really a lot of love, because you know your anxiety better than anybody else, and you know you can't help this. This is not something you're choosing. And I think the more we berate ourselves and get angry at ourselves and get angry at our anxiety and wish we weren't that way, the more the symptoms come on because we're trying to fight it. I think the more we let it in and say, oh, that feeling's arisen. How do I feel? Where is it in my body? Taking some deep breaths, reassuring it that you're going to be there for it, and that even if other people don't understand and you have to cancel something and people don't understand, you understand. And just really being kind and there for yourself. I think in time, that kind of attitude really helps with the anxiety. Like I said, it doesn't eliminate it. I still have anxiety problems, but that is my number one thing that's helped me with my anxiety, is the way I talk to it. I'm going to answer one more question because I feel like this video is getting quite long. And it's less of a question and more of just I think, asking for advice on this subject. And it is anxiety post-lockdown. And ooh, I think, first of all, I want to just say, for all of my people that have had anxiety disorders for a long time, or at least since before lockdown, and you have suffered with agoraphobia, emetophobia, OCD, anxiety, social anxiety, whatever it may be, you have gotten through 7 months of a global pandemic. Isn't that just absolutely mental? Like, I think that's just really something to celebrate. I'm going to do a whole video on this topic of anxiety post-lockdown, especially because I think a lot of us are kind of going back into lockdown at the moment, and so, you know, it doesn't feel like maybe lockdown's fully over yet. But all I'm going to say on it just now is you never thought that you could get through, you know, this amount of time of change, uncertainty, having no control, etc, etc, of lockdown, coming out of lockdown, going back into lockdown. If somebody told you in January that you would spend most of your year being locked down, not being allowed to leave your house, having to stay inside with friends and family or on your own, not being allowed to go to school, worrying about job uncertainty, blah de blah de blah. If somebody had told you that in January, you would have absolutely not believed them, and absolutely not have believed that you could survive it, and you have. I think that is just absolutely incredible, and we should all just be amazed at ourselves, at how resilient and amazing we are. So yeah, I will do a full video on that topic because I know that it's one that could be very helpful for lots of people. So that is the Q&A done for today. I have answered most of the questions that I got asked. Like I said, if you would like me to do a part 2 anxiety Q&A or just general Q&A, then leave your questions below. It can be on anything. I really hope that some of these answers helped some people. We're living in very anxious times, and like I said, I just think it's amazing how resilient we are and how much we've gotten through this year. It's just amazing. Whatever stage of your anxiety you're in, you're doing amazing. Anxiety recovery is like this. We go through good times, we go through bad times, but we will all get there at our different times, and that is okay. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!